Okay.
Would you mind when they ask a question, could you repeat the question so
Understood.
that we can hear it?
This is going to C-SPAN, is that?
Like CNN?
Oh, okay. Yes.
I just had a quick question.
Of course.
At the beginning of your show, you were focused on a grasshopper that was kind of sparkly.
Yes, yes.
What's the name of that?
That, the one that I showed the picture, yeah, that's called, the common name is barber pole grasshopper.
No, not that one. Leopard spot. Leopard spot. The green one.
Oh, yes. Oh, geez. Yeah. It's got a wonderful Poecilotetics pantherinus. Poecill, or maybe one L, Otettix, Poecilotetics, and pantherinus. Yeah, beautiful grasshopper. Yeah, you bet. Yes, ma'am.
On the slide of the grazed exurban with lizards, have you given any consideration to domestic predators? Because in that situation you can have a lot more bark cats.
That's an excellent comment, and I should have mentioned that. In the paper we published about lizards, we waved our arms at that too, because it clearly is probably a factor. We attempted to sort of quantify that question of house pets, but we weren't successful at it, and so I can't say anything. But I suspect you're onto something there. I like the Roadrunner story; it's kind of cuter. But cats and dogs, especially cats, I know hunt lizards big time, so that definitely could be a factor. And maybe they do better out in the open too, just visual predators. Dave.
Carl, could you expound upon maybe what you found with your species of high concern, bird-wise, whether it's a grasshopper, sparrow, otters, or cassins? Obviously, you've lumped a lot of the species together, but if you were to tease out some of those high concern species, you might have a slightly different result when you look at the exurban habitats.
The question was if you focused on birds about which there's regional concern at whatever level, do different patterns emerge? And I guess nothing startling along those lines jumps out. I'm interested in botterized sparrows, and they seem to do fine in exurban areas as long as there's good grass cover. Name me another species, because maybe there's something you're interested in that I could.
Well, looking at grasshopper sparrows.
Yeah. Well, the grasshopper sparrows were clearly uneasy in areas with high housing densities, and even in the areas with low housing densities, as you remember from that graph, they didn't approach the densities that we saw on those plots over there on the Davis pasture for whatever reason. Now, maybe that's a coincidence. There's something magical about the Davis pasture, but they weren't as common. Grasshopper sparrows weren't as common in exurban areas as they are on the research ranch either. So I think there's some Montezuma quail. Boy, it's a good question about Montezuma quail. We got so few sightings of them just because they're hard birds to kick out of the grass that there wasn't enough to do anything about there. Rufous crowned sparrow was one that clearly didn't like it around exurban neighborhoods, and I think the explanations there are to do with cover. I don't know if that's a bird that anybody's concerned about particularly. Loggerhead shrikes were most abundant on the cattle ranches. And I'm not absolutely positive what that's about. I think of them perched on these yuccas, and they were the most loggerhead shrikes were on the Empire Ranch on our plots north of 82, not down in the Davis pasture, but north, out in that kind of mesquite kind of country. So it wasn't overwhelming, but they certainly were more characteristic of cattle ranches than exurban neighborhoods. Yeah. Yes?
I think it would be interesting to apply this to some of the...
We can't stop working. If I were to do a follow-up on this project, I would experimentally test the oasis effect hypothesis by adding water to half of our non-exurban plots and see who came around. You could get one of these inverted things that, like you water chickens or something, just plunk it out there in the middle of the plot and see how much it changed. We're doing a little project on a ranch over in just south of Silver City that addresses that, looking at the importance of stock tanks to wildlife and there's some other work that's gone on around that about stock tanks that suggests that it may be important. Let me make one more comment, I'll get to your question. We're actually, the more we talk about this, I think maybe point sources of water may be one of the really overlooked issues about biodiversity in this part of the world, that a single source of water to which an animal can travel every day. Everybody knows that doves and quail come and drink out of water, but over there at this ranch in New Mexico where we're working, I see bobber-eyed sparrows coming to drink. I see winter birds. It's more significant in the winter than it is in the summer, intriguingly, which may have to do with this. It's a scarcer commodity in the winter than in the summer in this part of the world. So I think it'd be a lot of fun to add water to some of these plots and see how you change the biota. Yes, sir.
I was just wondering about the landscape component of those exurban areas as well, not just water, but also, the variety of plant community, the variety of plants. Even in urban areas, you could see, a home that has high densities of cover and whatnot, we're going to have a heck of a lot more and wider range of birds than somebody that's got a gravel.
Absolutely.
Anywhere in between.
The question is if it's not just water, or the observation is not just water, but lots of other resources. That showed up most dramatically in which stuff I didn't talk about butterflies, and that's not surprising. Here's an interesting thing, and we found out with butterflies. On the undeveloped plots, the predictor of I have to remember how to get this right. On the undeveloped plots, the predictor of variety of butterflies was the variety of plants that we found. In other words, the more flowering plants, because butterflies have many of them have fairly specific food requirements. That correlation went away in the exurban areas because I guess the planting sort of overrode this relationship between the native flora and the butterflies, and of course it jacked it up overall. So you're absolutely right. I guess. Okay, let Dan make. Can we do one more? Boy, we're there. Yes, quick one. Quick question, quick answer.
Now that I'm living up here, a lot of people left here, and Linda and I are, accepting we have our 5 or 10 acres. A lot of people here mow their whole lot.
Yeah.
For fire protection, like Linda and I are mowing an acre out of the 10 for fire protection, and the rest of them leave alone. What's your opinion of that? Because it's very common.
It is. The question is, or the observation is, a lot of people mow their grasslands around here because Linda's done too good a job scaring people that their houses are going to burn down. Well, wait a minute. I feel very strongly, Dan, in fact, I remember asking you, Linda, one time, so what's a reasonable thing, and you said something like 50 feet or 30 feet or something, and beyond that, you're really not making yourself any safer. Grassland, at least in grasslands, a grassland fire is a pretty easy thing to stop, as you know, and I think I'm guessing, based on the data we have of how things differ from these grazed versus ungrazed exurban properties, that mowing is a detriment to a lot of wildlife, and it upsets me to see people mow there, and I think I'm really this is an opinion, but I have the sense that we're also imposing on this landscape our sort of European idea of tidy, and it's a bad thing to do. It makes it look how it makes it green up sooner when the rains come, and it looks really neat to have all that grass the same height. The native animals here don't think that way, and it's a bad idea. Thank you.